All right, let's talk about that dreaded check engine light. You know the feeling your car starts to hesitate, it feels like it's losing power, and then, boom, the light comes on. Well, there's a good chance you've run into our culprit today, code P0087. We're going to break down exactly what that code means, what's causing it, and how you can figure it out like a pro. So, there it is, right? That little light just glowing on your dashboard. You hook up your scanner and it spits out this code, P0087. And you're just thinking, okay, what is my car actually trying to tell me right now? Let's get it decoded. At its heart, the P0087 code is actually pretty straightforward. Your car's computer, its brain really, is waving a big red flag. It's basically shouting, hey, I'm not getting enough fuel pressure over here to run right. It's kind of like you trying to drink a super thick milkshake through one of those tiny coffee straws. The engine is struggling to get the fuel it desperately needs. Okay, so besides that annoying little light, how does this problem actually feel when you're driving? Let's talk about the real-world symptoms your car is probably showing you. Yeah, this is the stuff you actually notice. The first thing is usually a serious lack of get up and go. You hit the gas, and the car just feels lazy, sluggish. It might hesitate or even misfire. In worst cases, it could stall out on you, maybe at a stoplight, or even have trouble starting in the first place. Some cars will even try to protect themselves by going into what's called limp mode, which basically cuts the power way down to prevent any major damage. So, to really get what's going wrong, we need to take a quick peek under the hood, figuratively speaking, at how modern fuel systems actually work. They're pretty amazing for efficiency, but that also means there are a few more parts in the mix. And here's where it gets interesting. A lot of modern cars, especially ones with direct injection, don't just have one fuel pump. They actually have two of them working as a team. This whole two-stage setup is fantastic for performance and your gas mileage. But yeah, it adds another layer of complexity when we're trying to figure out a problem. And these two pumps have very different jobs. Think of it like a relay race. First up, you've got the low-pressure pump. It lives inside your gas tank, and its only job is to get the fuel out of the tank and push it up towards the engine. Then, it passes the baton to the high-pressure pump. This one is mounted right on the engine, and its job is to take that fuel and jack the pressure way, way up for that superfine mist the injectors need. A problem with either one of these pumps can trigger our P0087 code. All right, so we know how it feels, and we know how the system works. So let's play detective. Who are the usual suspects when that fuel pressure suddenly drops? Now, this list might look a little long, but it's all pretty logical. It could be something as simple as a clogged fuel filter. That's usually the best case scenario because it's a cheap and easy fix. From there, it could be one of our two pumps starting to fail. But it could also be a bad sensor that's just feeding the computer bad info. Or maybe you've got a leak somewhere, or even an issue with a small but vital part called a cam follower that helps run the high-pressure pump. Now, here is a fantastic insider tip. When a high-pressure fuel pump starts to fail, sometimes it can actually break apart on the inside and send tiny little metal shavings into the engine oil. Or it can leak raw fuel right into the oil. So one of the first things a really experienced mechanic might do is just check the engine oil. Do they smell gas? Do they see a metallic shimmer? It's a super quick and easy diagnostic clue. So how do you actually track down the real problem without just, throwing parts at your car and hoping for the best? You've got to be methodical. You need to think like a detective and just follow the clues. Let's walk through it. The key here is to start simple. Start with the easiest and cheapest things first. A good visual inspection costs you nothing. Do you smell fuel? Can you see a leak? Is that fuel filter looking like it's from the Stone Age? If all that seems okay, then you test the low pressure pump. This is a huge step because it helps you figure out which half of the system has the problem. Only after that do you start comparing sensors and going for test drives. Okay, now this is where the real detective work comes in. You get so much information by comparing a real physical fuel pressure gauge to what the car's sensor is telling your scan tool. For example, if your gauge shows good pressure, let's say 60 psi, but your scanner says it's low, ding, 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 you've probably just got a bad sensor. But if both the gauge and the scanner are reading low, well, your problem is almost certainly that low pressure pump or a clog before it. And what if they both read normal when the car is just idling? That's your biggest clue yet. It tells you the problem is probably in the high pressure system, which only really shows its weakness when the engine is working hard. And that leads us right to the road test. See, that high-pressure pump is kind of just chilling out when the car is idling. It doesn't really have to kick into high gear until you demand power. So if the car idles just fine, but the second you try to accelerate hard, it bogs down and feels like it's starving for fuel, that is the classic symptom of a high-pressure pump that just can't keep up anymore. So we get to the big question, right? The one everybody wants to know. My car has this problem. Just how serious is it? How fast do I need to get this fixed? The answer to that is a very simple, very direct yes. This is absolutely not a code you want to ignore and just hope it goes away. And here's why. For one, driving an engine with not enough fuel, what mechanics call a lean condition, can cause some really serious and expensive damage over time. But even more immediately, the car is just plain unreliable. The absolute last thing you want is for your engine to stall out on you while you're pulling into a busy intersection. So it's not just a performance issue, it's a major safety issue too. And all this information really leads us to one final thought. Now that you know how the system works and you know the steps to diagnose it, you're in a much, much better position to make a call. Do you feel confident enough to grab some tools, check a fuel filter, maybe even hook up a pressure gauge? Or does the idea of messing with high-pressure fuel lines make you want to just pick up the phone and call a pro? Either way is fine, but now at least you know what you're dealing with.